In this video, we're going to be looking at how to represent whole numbers, but in this particular third step, which is in expanded form. And this here is going to be focusing mainly on the powers of 10. We're going to focus on a couple of things in this video. One is how are we going to be able to introduce something which we've talked about, which is known as transforming place values into what? Transforming it into powers of 10, and this here is going to be based on how we are going to apply them to digits in a number. And here is a tool that should guide you through this. Now looking at the far right, we have this to be placed as the ones, because now we are focusing on what type of numbers. We're looking at whole numbers. Therefore, starting with our ones, we are going to represent them in terms of powers of 10 to be 10 to the power of what? 10 to the power of 0. Now for our tens, this is represented as 10 to the power of 1. H is hundreds, which is 10 to the power of 2. And in the thousands region is split into three parts, where our first digit is going to be the ones, which is in this case 10 to the power of 3. Our tens of thousands is 10 to the power of 4. Our hundreds of thousands is 10 to the power of 5. And then we are out of the thousands region into what? The millions. And in the millions region, we see that we have the same thing, three segments. First here is 10 to the power of 6. In the next one here, which is our tens of millions, this is 10 to the power of 7. Our hundreds of millions is 10 to the power of 8. And next is what? Our billion region, where now we have our ones of billion, which is represented as 10 to the power of 9, tens of billion, 10 to the power of 10, the hundreds of billion, 10 to the power of 11, and this gets us into the trillion zone. And this here, the same thing, 10 to the power of what? 12, 10 to the power of 13, and our hundreds of trillions, which is 10 to the power of 14. So these here are the restrictions that you should be exposed to at the grade 7 level in terms of digits in a particular number. Now we'll give it a following example, which says that you should write the numeral in expanded form, where this numeral here, which is shown for A, is 1230. In this case, what we have to do is to first step, what we need to realize first is to make sure that we have our sum of the digits to be by the power of 10, or you can say considering the place value. So therefore, in here for our 1230, the first digit at the very left is going to be the highest place value, which is in this case 1, but in here we have 1000. And the next digit after 1 is 2, whose place value is in the hundreds. And our third place value, which is 3, indicates the digit, and it is in the tens, and that is 8. Take note that we have to add them together, so you have to show the addition sign. This then leads us to the next part, where we need to find how this place value relates to a power of 10. For 1000, it is placed in the thousands, so we have 3 zeros. So that means we're going to multiply 1 by 1000. The other part here, which is 200, has 2 zeros, so that means we're going to multiply R2 by 100. And our 30 has 1 0 after the digit 3, so that means we're going to multiply R3 by 10. Take note that we still have to add all these guys together. Now our final step is to transform our place value to now the powers of 10, and so that results in the following, where R1 is multiplied by what? 10 to the power of how many zeros do we have after the first digit, non-zero digit? In this case we have 3 zeros. That means we're going to put our 3 as the exponent right here for the 10. Make sure you have your plus sign, and the next one is 2 times 100. In this case you're going to write your 2 times, and then the next part here is 100 is a power of 10, where we have our 10, and the exponent is going to be based on how many zeros which comes after the first digit in here, and this here is what, just 2. So we're going to put our 2 right there, and then we show our plus sign, and this leads us to the final one, which is 30, where in this case our 3 times is going to be written first, and finally here 10 has what, how many zeros after the 1? 1. So this here is our final answer for this particular question, which says that we should write our numeral, which is 1230, in an expanded form with powers of 10, as shown right here. Now let's move on to question B, and B here says that we have this particular number which is given right here, and you're asking yourself, how is this, or where is 9 place value here? And to do that, I'll suggest you put commas every 3 digits. And so this here, we're going to put comma here. After this we have that, and then this shows here that our 9 is placed not at the thousands, but at the what, tens of what, million, which is right here at this region. And so once we have this, we can now write our digits with the zeros after them, and this includes the following. Our first digit is 9, we have our zeros, and the zeros here shows that we have how many of them, to be 7 zeros. Next is our 8. Our 8 has 6 zeros, and this here is followed by our 4, who has just 5 zeros, and our 10,000 and 1,000 has zeros as their digits, so that means we cannot write them down here. Next is that we have our 500, in this case with 2 zeros after it, our 60 with 1 zero, and our 7 with no zeros. Therefore, take note that we need to add all this here together. And so once we have this set up, we can skip this particular step here, as you see from A, and we can just go all the way to this particular final step here in this question. And how does that look like? This looks like this, where we have 9, and 9 is multiplied, which we're going to write here. 9 is multiplied by 10 to the power of how many zeros? We see that we have 7 zeros, so we put 7 right above the 10. And the next is we have our plus sign. Next is we have our 8, and 8 is multiplied by how many zeros? This case here we have our 6 zeros, therefore it to be 10 to the power of what? 6. And we're going to write that above the 10. And next is we're going to show our plus sign, and then we go to our 4, who has how many zeros? Has 5 zeros, so we're going to have our 4 multiplied by 10 to the power of 5. And next is we're going to show our plus sign, and this leads us to our 5 times what? 10 to the power of how many zeros? We have 2 zeros after the 5, so that means we're going to write our 10 to the power of 2. Next is our 60 here, and this 60 here shows that our 6 as the first digit is multiplied by how many zeros after the 6? 1. So that means 10 to the power of 1 plus, hey, we have our 7 right here as the last digit, and this last digit here has how many zeros? No zeros, so that means it's just 10 to the power of 0. So this here confirms a couple of things. This here shows that there is a pattern here, and this pattern here reveals how we are able to translate the number of zeros after our non-zero digit to powers of 10, and the exponent reflects how many zeros that is after the non-zero digit. And in this case, we also need to show the addition sign, because when we add these results here together, that gives us this particular value here, which is the numeral that is given in the question. So overall, I hope you found this really informative in terms of being able to transform numerals all the way to expanded form using powers of 10. If you have any other strategy, please share that in the comment section and let me know your thought about this all the way. See you all on the next one. Stay smart as always and keep on practicing.